Hello handheld gamers and welcome to another video. In this one we're looking at trying to tweak the performance of Vampire Survivors on the Steam Deck. So I've put a few little changes in place. First one I'll show you is, because I've done quite well with the performance, we've set up an in-game profile, set it to 60 FPS, thermal limit of 5 watts. And would you believe we actually got OK performance? What I found, the strange thing is that this is pretty much a CPU bound game, I would say. So it doesn't really matter how many watts you throw at the thing, it just seems to struggle, over 5 watts in certain parts of the game. As you can see here, we're discharging about 10 watts in total, which is pretty decent. That's a little bit higher than normal. I think that's because I've got a capture card plugged in. It's usually about 9. Only differences I can say that I put in place is there is a setting in Vampire Survivors called Performance Mode. Now, I had foolishly thought that should be turned off if you didn't have a performance, capable piece of equipment. So I thought, if you've got a really beast of a PC, you'd have that turned on. It's actually the opposite. You turn it on if you haven't got a powerful PC, so you turn that on, it makes a big difference. The other thing that I've done to make a little bit of a difference is, spotted online, a lot of people posted about this. Under properties of the game, type in the general bit here, type in hyphen, use all available cores on all caps, space, hyphen, high. And that's supposed to make the game utilise all the available cores. So as you can see here, we're about 23 minutes in. I've got this running in hyper mode and hurry up and everything's turned on. And we're getting 22 FPS, and this is a particularly busy bit. So most of the time, it sort of settles down. Well, it'll be at 60 quite a lot of the time until you get a really big rush on, and then it'll drop to usually about 30. So this is a little bit lower than I would normally have. I think this is partly because the capture card is plugged in, as I've said. This one's not going to go very well. I'm not going to take on the Reaper because I don't have any clock lancet, but we're doing okay. So it's usually about this point, the over 20 minutes point, when it really starts to chug. And at this point I was seeing perhaps as little as 3-4 frames a second, and it was just unplayable. So now it's generally sticking at, what's this, about 24 frames at the slowest, but it will perk up. And it doesn't chug for too long, so as you see, it jumps back up there to a sort of decent frame rate. Now there's a lot going on screen here just now. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of power-ups I've picked up, and I think this is actually playing not too bad. Considering this is in hurry-up mode, there's a lot happening, it's really battering away. I'm pretty pleased with this performance. So that would have been rock solid at 30 FPS, but I think with the capture card plugged in, it has been a slight difference. It's knocked about 3 frames off there, so this is very playable still. It's not stuttering along like you would normally do, so definitely worth turning on those settings that use all available cores, and also turning on performance mode, which if I'm still alive at the end, I will show you before I start a new game. As you can see, this is absolutely playable. If I didn't show the FPS counter on the top right, you would probably think this is running upwards of 30 FPS. It's certainly playing well. It's one of the things I have noticed quite a lot on people posting footage, or even often just pictures saying, claiming this runs at 60 FPS, and it absolutely does, but not at every stage of the game. At some points it definitely slows down. Now I'll still stand by that this runs slightly better on my OneXPlayer than it does on the Steam Deck, but with these little tweaks I've made now, I actually am playing the game a lot more on the Steam Deck. One thing I have noticed, of course, is the screen quality. But I know there is tools available that let you tweak the colour saturation up a bit, and that's the only thing that I noticed about this game on the Steam Deck, is a little bit washed out. It looks so much better in the OneXPlayer. In fact, I'm actually just, because I've got the capture card plugged in, I'm looking at my monitor just now, and it's as saturated as it is on my OneXPlayer. But I pulled out the cable earlier, and I couldn't believe how just washed out the greens are, particularly the blues. but it's still very playable, as you can see. So there was like a dip down to 8 frames there, and it was still actually running really well, because it's literally for probably just 1 frame that it's dipping, so you don't actually feel the dip. So that's saying 18 now, and that feels just as responsive as it did a couple of minutes ago when it was running at 30 frames. So as you see here, we're getting pretty much to the end game here. You know, we're getting pretty close to the 30-minute mark. I don't have any revives, unfortunately, because I did mess up a little bit earlier. But we'll get to the Reaper, and I'll show you that it'll jump straight back up to 60 when the Reaper's on screen. Now, there is other hints, tips you can do, like turning off the damage figures on screen, but I kind of feel that's part of the essence of the game. There's just so much happening. This still feels playable to me. This is smooth. Now, just there, I heard it more on the audio, but it was definitely a little slowdown. What I'm going to do next is, because this is more of a CPU game, and it does have quite low system requirements, I am going to... This guy frozen. Oh, excellent. So here we are, look, see, well it says 36 there, and I think that's because we've got an output plugged in. That would be bang right up to 60. So I think captured video output has definitely made a difference. I'm just annihilate here. Yep, that's it. So, as you can see, a couple of little tweaks, and you can get Vampire Survivors running way better than 2-3 frames at the later stages. And I'll show you in here the option that I've set. So down here, you've got performance mode, and I think that's turned off by default. You just need to turn it on, makes a huge difference. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.